Testing. Yep. It's going through.
Good stuff.
Right. We'll send the link. Still not got Jason's chat, even on. That's the thing I always get with Skype. I'm never quite 100% convinced it's showing everything that you should know.
Yeah. Only because I saw it, glanced out of the corner of my eye. I saw it. I'm on Mac Skype today, which is really weird. The new update to that. So.
I heard the notification, but I couldn't see it. Okay, link out. Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
And we could have Jason, but not yet.
Yeah, he's on the way somewhere. He's either in the queue to get the latest iPad. No, that's not one released for a while, so probably that'd be a long time. Or he's waiting for his broadband to catch up.
He's waiting for his broadband, get an Android phone, get an iPad. Something of that nature. Maybe he's installing the 1607 update.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, he did start last week on that, didn't he? So
yeah.
Broadband, it's quite possible.
It's going to be the rest of the week before that, that gets here. Yeah. So, well, we've got lots to talk about. Hopefully, Jason will join us at some point in the show, especially if we get Skype messages appearing that we can't actually read.
Yeah, that was quite amusing. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I was just actually saying, kind of joking, but it's kind of true. I always get the impression with Skype that I've not seen exactly everything always. So, for example, that message.
Well, not even heard.
Yeah, we know it's there, but I can't see it, and it's not come up on the desktop version of Skype. I heard it somewhere, and it's not. Oh, you've gone. Back.
I'm back. Yeah, you back?
It dropped me then. Yeah. Yeah, just as we'd call it Skype, we get cut.
Yeah, so you can't talk about Skype.
Let's gloss over Skype. Anyway, what point I was making, you get messages. I'm not always sure you get them all. We used to have the status thing when we got them too often and we on too many devices, and now I'm not sure we're getting them on every device or any device. Oh, getting you back again. Hello. Hello. Oh.
Hello.
Back. That was time.
That was weird.
Was it just dropping the call?
Yeah, it's just dropping the call. No reason or rhyme or whatever.
It kept the connection to the live stream going. So I'm not quite sure what it was doing then. Right. Well, we'll stop criticizing Skype and get on with this week's show.
Otherwise, we'll never get on.
Yeah. So we've got quite a few things to talk about. We've got the latest updates, talking about last week's update for Windows 10. We've got new MB server stuff. We've got some nice updates for Groove. Windows Inking, we've got quite a few new features to talk and new things to talk about, and we can talk about the mobile update, and unfortunately we're going to have to talk about the Surface Pro 3 battery as well, but we'll wait for Jason for that one.
Yeah. That's probably what he's still doing, actually. He's still monitoring his battery life second by second.
Yeah, well, I think second by second is about what he's getting on his battery life now.
It is, yeah.
Which I know you can talk about, but I think the drain is so much so that if you're using a dock, it can't supply enough power. So people having to bypass it and goes directly. But I'll let Jason talk about that.
It's kind of ridiculous, but there we go.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So, right, let's start with, we'll talk about, so last week was the Windows 10 anniversary update, the 1607 release, and like, we recorded last Tuesday as it was released. And have you actually had any devices that weren't on inside a preview ring get the update yet?
No. and I do try every day, but no.
That's what. And actually, I was in the same situation. I installed it manually on my Lenovo machine at the office. But this Dell XPS 15 actually picked up the update yesterday.
Oh, okay, so maybe there's some chance for me.
Yeah, so the update is started to roll out, but the Acer I'm using to do the live stream, that hasn't picked up the update. So it seems Microsoft are definitely in the process of rolling this out, and they're going through various stages. I think my Surface, all the Surface devices I tested it on were already on either release preview or fast ring, so I didn't see when the update came out, to Surface owners. But I think it has Surface Pro 3 and 4 users are getting the update. But anyway, this Dell's a recent machine, so I guess they're going through. Perhaps they've got a list of known machines and then they work backwards on that.
Yeah, I don't quite know how it works. We had it staggered before on the original Windows 10 update.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So I think that it's going to be a similar thing. Not quite sure what we'll see, but we'll see something when we see it.
Yeah. And I think if we look at the older updates, any machine that has Windows 10 gets those older updates now. So it's not a question you're not going to get it. It's just if you wait, you'll get it eventually.
Yes, yeah, I think that's the best. Patience is a virtue, especially when it comes to Windows.
Yeah, and if you want to have it, you can do it manually with the Media Update tool, or I think you can just go and go on the support website. You can actually just download a little installer, doesn't it, and tries to install it for you.
Yeah,
I installed it manually on a machine at the office last week, and no problems installing that. One thing interesting thing, it did remove a couple of apps that said weren't compatible. One was Mobile Device Center, which I used to use for connecting Motorola scanners that needed Active Sync.
Yes, and I still need to use that for some of my stuff, so it's a bit worrying that does go away. But
yeah,
I've heard that you can still work with those devices.
Yeah, and of course, what I don't really get is how come it's been on there for a year,
yeah,
with Windows 10, and it's this update that's that's removed it. I think it removed something else as well. It was a VNC app I was using, but it's funny they were there already, but it could have been because I used that upgrade tool that does the analysis, whereas I think if you just go through Windows Update, it probably doesn't. So I think you'll probably be okay if you just let Windows Update do it and don't use the tool, because basically the tool is the Upgrade Advisor tool that we used to use to go from Windows 8, which does the validation.
Actually, I got a feeling that I used to recommend getting into Windows Device Manager as well, Mobile Device Manager as well.
Yeah, it could have done so. Although I think I would have used that on this machine a year ago. But anyway, I've got rid of it now, so hopefully I won't need to manage any Motorola scanners. I've got other ways of doing it now. So yeah. So I got that update installed, and overall the response seems to be fairly positive.
Yeah, it does. I mean, most people seem to have gone through the update. I've seen a few posts about how to solve common problems. Windows Central had a couple of good ones on that. But yeah, most people I've spoken to who've actually got the update, and not many of them have found it relatively easy to go through.
I did see a few people. So I think the Register and the other ones that like to be quite give Microsoft a hard time every now and again, saying that it's crashing machines. But when I read into it, it was actually locking Explorer for a few people, and it seems to be only a few. But actually, I think I did see it on my Surface Pro 4 where it restarted Explorer a couple of times. Where all the icons at the bottom disappear and then they reload. And I've never seen that during the preview releases on the Surface Pro 3. So I've only ever seen it on the Surface Pro 4. But but apart from that, I've not seen any major issues. I have seen people having issues installing it, and the guide that I posted a couple of weeks ago has actually helped quite a few people out, and Jason said it helped someone out last week. That's mainly where the download gets a bit corrupted, and I've got a little guide on doing that. So that seems to be the main issue that I've had. But I have seen people have issues with drivers as well if you go on the Microsoft forums. So it just looked like old driver issues can sort of crop up from time with this update.
Yes.
Actually, I think this part of the problem is what we've discussed many times in the past, isn't it, with my own Core 8, where it resets the driver to a known version that it thinks it should be using, Windows Update. But actually, it's not the right driver. And I guess
Yes.
that's what people are finding. So they may have fixed this problem a year ago or November, whenever the last update was. And then since then, the drivers have, it's rolling to a wrong driver. So my Encore 8 always uses the wrong network driver, so the wireless doesn't work.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So I think perhaps a few people are seeing those kind of things. But I think overall, it seems to be fairly positive. As we've discussed, they're not major changes to the OS going from the November update to this update. They're just nice incremental improvements.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of people I've spoken to have got it, actually like the improvements. I did have someone trying to find settings and couldn't find that. It's not quite so obvious as it was before.
Yeah, and I think the changes to Action Center and everything else are just. I think I like the translation extension for Edge as well, and I think little things like that. And the start menu, I feel much better on my my desktop machine or my laptop I'm using for development at work, and that's got the update on it. It's much easier to use. It's the minor changes, but I did miss them when I wasn't using it after being using it on the test machines.
Yeah, I think particularly Edge has moved on so far since the original release.
I did notice as well that the machine I was using, my sort of main machine, is prone to high disk usage. A bit disk thrashing, and this update seems to be less. To do it less, I think it's because it's only got 8 gig of RAM only, but that's a small amount nowadays. But it's got 8 gig of RAM, and when you're using Visual Studio and Edge, a few Edge tabs are open with big websites on, I find that gets eaten up quite quickly, that memory, and it starts to use the hard drive. And when using the Surface, you get used to the fast SSD drives. When you use a spinning disk machine, you can really feel that sluggishness as it's paging.
Yeah, it's amazing that, isn't it? How we lived with that for so long.
Yeah, I mean, it's really painful, isn't it, when the disk is stashing away?
Yeah,
and you just don't get that on a fast SSD. Like we said last week, even you don't get that on those EMC devices. I was testing. I've not posted a video. I was testing an Acer Aspire R14, I think it is, and that's got a spinning drive. And aside from the fact you can really hear it, it's really loud. It feels sluggish, even going up against. And this is a Celeron processor, but going up against the Atom processor that Lynx 1010, actually it felt slower, despite having technically a better processor because of the disk.
Yeah, disk access has always been one of the things which slows down Windows. Too much reliance on disk actually in the Windows operating system generally, but that's historic.
Yeah, but I think that's where the SSDs really do get.
Yeah,
you get around that, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
So, I've managed to find the chat from Jason as well, opening the Skype preview app on my other Surface.
Oh well, it had to be there somewhere.
Yeah. So overall, favourable reactions so far. Like you said, there's not a lot of people have got it in the wild as opposed to the insiders. And we'll talk about what comes next for insiders shortly after that, actually. Now, what about mobile?
Yes, what about mobile? So we've heard rumours of dates for the release for mobile, but again, that's going to be dependent on operators and if you've got an unlocked phone, or is it belong to an operator or whatever, and how long it takes to get through things. People on AT&T probably won't see the update until next year. I am joking about that, but that's possible with AT&T. You never know with their release schedules. So I think in the UK we're likely to see it by the end of the year. Now,
there were rumours that it was going to be today, didn't it, for unlocked devices?
There were rumours today, and I've seen something earlier today saying no, it's not going to be today. Donna Sark put that out, and I think they're not quite ready yet. But I'd rather they get it right than rush it out, to be honest. And there's never actually been a statement they were due to release this at the same time as the desktop anniversary release. There was always this priority on the desktop, but there wasn't actually a statement about the mobile release coming out at the same time. I think there's been a lot of assumption it would do.
Yeah, there was. I mean, I was one of the people assuming that it was all tied together with the same release build, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
Although I expect it'll be the same. It'll be what 1.4.393.
Yeah, with patches.
Yeah, and I think judging from the how my 950's been, I think it's been pretty fine. There is one thing that I think has been driving some people mad, and that's a Bluetooth sticking.
Oh, it drives me mad. My phone locks up every time I take it out of the car, which is really annoying.
Well, the good news for you with that is, and this is what makes me maybe think that the fix is getting quite or the release of mobile is getting quite close, is because this evening there is an update for the anniversary, and it's actually technically the first update for the anniversary version, but it's the 4th release.
Yes,
because we had 3, or we had 2 before last week, and then we had 1 on release day, and then there's 1 today as well. So that 1 today includes, and it's specifically called out in the release notes, a fix for Windows 10 mobile Bluetooth disconnection issues.
Woohoo!
So does that probably means that it's getting close. I wonder. I'm going to check on my phone now. I wonder if the Insider Preview phones are going to pick up that update.
Haven't seen it yet. I have been checking because I saw that post and thought, that's what I want.
So so the other fixes in that release were Microsoft Edge fixes, Internet Explorer reliability issue fixes. Let's see. I'll get the full release notes here. Oh yeah, fixes reliability Internet Explorer 11. Fix issues with pen clicking after updating. I noticed that bug actually, although I thought it was just me. I was, when you tap the top of a pen on a Surface Pro, it's supposed to bring up the little thing. It just didn't work. So I thought, I need to investigate that later, and it turned out that's what it is. Sometimes you get these bugs, and after it's only when you read the release notes you realise, I had that.
Yeah.
And what else was there? This is the one that you might be interested in. Then it addresses the issue that may cause Windows 10 mobile devices to hang after Bluetooth on and off very quickly. After turning Bluetooth on and off very quickly. But I think it's more on disconnect, isn't it, that you have the issue?
Yes, yeah. Maybe to do the way it disconnects on my device.
So and there's security updates as well. So that's in the update that's gone out today, the first patch for that. I think that takes it up to version 53, build 53, I think it was when I checked before. So that's gone out today, and like we said, no mobile yet, but I suspect it'll be fairly soon. I'm more optimistic. I think unlocked devices will get it fairly soon, maybe even this week, and then a bit later for the locked devices carrier dependent. So we'll see. We'll see about that. I just didn't notice when you who would want that job that Donna has now got, because I was looking at her Twitter feed and there was a few replies, and one of them was a no with about 100 zeros, O's after it. And when you look at some of the people, there's the sense of entitlement that some people have for these releases. It's incredible how Donna doesn't tell them where to go. She's very patient. That's all I can say.
She is indeed. I think that's a criteria for that job.
Yeah. People, demand it. This is ridiculous. And I saw Richard Hay retweeted this. Someone said that if they don't get their anniversary update for Windows 10 mobile, they're going back to Windows Vista.
On mobile.
yeah, exactly. A real threat there. But if you're really desperate, just stick it on the Insider program and put the release preview on.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, good evening.
You ran fast.
I made it.
Yeah. Well, we were speculating what. Go ahead, Gary.
I was going to say, Jason, you're out of breath because you've been pedaling hard to keep your Surface charged.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've got it hooked up to one of those spinning cycles, so which should be good.
Yeah, well, what we thought was maybe you're running on battery trying to download the anniversary update, and we're not sure which is slower, your pedaling or the download for your broadband.
Yeah, I've been trying to run my battery down to the point where it switches off today, and then charging it back up, reading some of the forums. But every time I've tried to do it, it's just made matters worse. So we'll see.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Surface Pro battery. We'll come back to that later. What we
Yeah.
were talking about was we've just had the first update for the anniversary release.
Of course, yeah, it's Patch Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've had the first patch Tuesday.
Not Battery Tuesday, Patch Tuesday.
And we were saying, well, where's our mobile build? Or where's the mobile version that's gone out? But Gary thinks it'd be later. I've got a feeling it'd be quite soon, but not yet. Maybe later this week for unlocked devices and a couple of weeks for locked devices and never for AT&T devices.
Yeah, well, there was some talk, wasn't there, that that with Windows 10, that Windows 10 mobile would be patched, as if it.
I think it's supposed to be. I think that's right.
Yeah,
I
but
think
obviously getting out there in the first place, maybe with a big update, it still goes through carrier testing, but then patching and bug fixes doesn't.
Yeah, and I think it also depends if there's any firmware updates alongside this, which I think there was.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a firmware update in the works somewhere that includes the double tap to wake. But I've got a feeling that we're a few days for the unlock ones and then a little bit longer for lock ones. I think I've seen a few people say a week between the two stages, but not today. And we were just laughing at Donna's patient tweets of people demanding their anniversary update for phones.
Yes, yeah, and then obviously we'll get onto, I guess, the Redstone 2 builds, and then people will be complaining that why aren't there any new features?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, for mobile, maybe by the time the show goes out on Thursday, it'll be released. I'm not quite sure, but it'll be soon. And if you're really desperate, just go on the release preview ring Windows Insiders. And the patch that we talked about, I've just checked on mine, Gary, and it's not arrived yet.
Yeah, not here either. So, and it usually takes a while for the phone ones to get out. So we'll see.
And the patch does include, Jason, a Bluetooth fix for mobile.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I must admit, Bluetooth has been alright actually on my 930. Overall.
I was just saying it's got a lot worse for me recently. Every time I disconnect from the car, it locks the phone up completely. It has to be powered off and back on again.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I knew there was still that outstanding issue, but yeah, I must admit, mine's been pretty much okay. One of the biggest issues I have, which is, I think it's app related really, is that I use the Cast app, which I really like as a podcasting app, but when it sometimes downloads podcasts in the background, it doesn't get the whole file, and then when you try and delete it, it thinks it's already downloaded it. It just gets stuck in this cycle, but that's an app problem, not a Bluetooth issue. But
well, it's combined app and network issue, isn't it? But it should recover from that. Yeah.
So so that's the anniversary update, the first patch due, and the phone. Well, we'll see fairly soon, I would imagine. Interesting. What I did see Donna tweet today to say to check your ring settings.
Yeah, although I can't actually see, because that shortcut that she's posted takes you to a web page, which then redirects to the feedback hub. But my feedback hub, the last update is the 5th of August, announcing an insider preview app update for Groove Music.
Yeah.
I found the feedback app takes a long while to catch up.
Yeah, which is frustrating when that's information posted. But I did tweet her ages ago now, saying it would be really nice to get an indicator of where the line in the sand was in terms of going back to release preview, because you can only do that when you're on a general release version. And in fact opt out of the insider program altogether. But so on my Ailing Surface Pro 3, I've now gone back to the release preview because I don't really want Redstone 2 early builds, and I'm probably going to do that on my Lumia 930 as well, primarily because I don't want to get hit by another battery consuming bug.
Yeah. Yes. Now, I was going to ask that question: what people are going to do once they've actually got up to date to the preview, the anniversary release. Because I think I'll take the 950 back to release preview as well, because seems safer. I'll let you two guys play on that.
Well, I must admit, I mean, I tend to use a VM, so I'll install the builds into a VM and kind of play around with new features and stuff. I always feel it's not really a good playground to get a true feeling for how features work, particularly when you haven't got, if there's like, for example, messaging everywhere, you needed a phone on the same version to really play around with it. But that's what I tend to do. And then when I feel the builds are getting close to release standard, then I tend to switch my devices onto it.
I'm gonna leave my Surface Pro 3 on fast ring and the 950 XL on fast ring, but mainly because I've got my Android phone with my main SIM in it, and I've got Surface Pro 4 on release preview. So I think that's probably the best balance, really.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see because how you get on with your Surface Pro 3, because there are numerous people now starting to report LG C batteries failing as well.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm going to test on mine live, but mine reports quite high. I think it's 4200.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's,
mine's been working fine with the LG, but with the LG battery.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much of that is down to the fact that you're always going to get a certain number of batteries fail anyway.
Yes, yeah, certainly, and particularly with it kind of being heightened, people will be checking. But yes, so apologies for being late. I had my kids wanted to spend some time with me, bless them.
Oh.
They're like, "Oh, Dad, don't go." But so I don't know if you discussed Xbox One, Universal Apps and stuff.
Not yet.
Not yet, no.
I'm just yeah, my kind of heart sank. I don't know if you saw this, but who is it? Let me get a name. One of the Xbox guys, Mike. Where's the name I want? Trying to find it in my timeline. Trying to remember his surname. But he's quite proactive in the works for Microsoft. Quite proactive. Mike Ibarra.
Oh yeah.
He tweeted to say that Universal Apps for Xbox could be pushed by any developer, and I think I retweeted it saying, "Oh, here come the fart apps." So, Richard Gunther, I'm with you. I dread the moment because I was really hoping that it would be kind of curated or even an invitation only, because I just think, it's supposed to be a gaming console, and while I think the Universal App platform is brilliant for things like media streaming apps, music apps, I think that's absolutely great, but I really don't want to see it, an app store that's just flooded with any kind of apps. I mean, even my Cast app is on there, and again, that's maybe borderline. I guess people might listen to podcasts through their Xbox, but I don't know how you guys feel, whether or not you would have preferred it to be a curated or at least a by invitation only, or whether or not you think it should just be a free for all.
This is one where I have to put two hats on. So from my developer hat on, and from my customer point of view, I want it free. I want to be able to get in there. I don't want restrictions. I don't want any. I mean, the restrictions we've got on most of the app stores are limitations which shouldn't be there a lot of the time anyway, because they tend to be down to choices of individuals. But with my Xbox is the gaming machine hat on, I would say yes, I'd agree with you that it should have been curated. So it's one of those difficult ones. Up to now, there's been a huge amount of quality control on games getting onto Xbox, and maybe that's the way you play it. You say, well, games still are curated, but apps aren't, and you make the store very distinctively split. And if your front page of your store is the stuff which is actually curated, and then it says, and you go off to another page, but these aren't curated, but it's fairly clear that's the case. Maybe that's less of a problem.
I personally quite happy to see the apps get on there, just because I know how difficult it's been in some cases for getting apps pushed through. So yeah, I want to see them. If somebody wants to create an app that maybe you, Jason, will have a use case for it on TV, but I do, well, great, put it on there. So I think there should be a quality bar across the whole store, really.
Yes, I think that's more the point. I think quality. The problem is that there is actually a store guideline which should prevent those sort of apps getting on, but it's not enforced very well, because when it is enforced, it delays the whole app store submission process, because they haven't got enough people on the process to do it.
I think my concern as well is that, and maybe this solution is coming, maybe we're going to see things improve, but one of the biggest issues with the Microsoft Store in the early days, and I still think it is a problem, is the copycat apps.
Yes.
So, people launch a game and then someone somehow manages to get hold of the package and rename it and basically put the exact same game up there and start generating revenue streams from it when, they've put no work into developing the game. And I think those people will instantly be able to could potentially find a way into the Xbox One store. So I do hope that there will still be some, that Microsoft can get a grasp on maintaining the quality and that kind of removing the kind of Me Too apps and it won't be an issue. It's just I know people that abandoned Xbox One in favor of PlayStation 4 because they wanted a gaming console, and I just it would just worry that the Xbox One's going to kind of become this reputation more as a media box or an app box rather than what it should be at its heart, which is the best games.
Yeah, and maybe there's a case for separating out the non-universal games from the universal game or universal apps. 2 app stores, maybe even. I don't know. I don't know what the best way of playing that is. I can see it from both sides because there are certain apps which, if it was curated, probably wouldn't get on because the people who are doing the curating wouldn't know the benefit of them.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly is. It certainly is a difficult one, but it was my concern when they announced the universal apps coming to Xbox One. I kind of hope there might be at least some barrier to overcome.
But it means that developers like MB, who haven't got a huge amount of resources, can get that up there quite quickly, get it on there, easy to update it. They haven't got through a lot of hoops to go through, and it means it gets the app on there. I mean, if you look at Plex does quite well on there, but Plex got special arrangement to get that onto the Xbox One, and at least for the MB team who didn't have those arrangements, they can get that app on there and get it up and running. And there might be a niche one, but if it's something that a kid likes it, and it spreads around the friends, that it makes the platform more attractive. You'll have to look at Pokemon Go or something. Something that captures the imagination that suddenly drives the platform.
Yeah, and there are some. You can also see that there's some advantages to that from the Windows 10 point of view. If for example, someone decides that Pokemon Go would make a great thing to put on an Xbox, I can't really see why, but maybe they would. Then that might actually push it out to be a universal app, which is then available for the other platforms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Tablets. So, and you might find that things are driven that way around because they can get onto the Xbox One with a minimal cost.
Yeah, I mean, say for example, iPlayer Radio, which on Android is a really good quality app, and it's horrendous, just about usable on Windows 10 mobile. In fact, it's a Windows 8 app, really, Windows Phone 8, and it doesn't have resume, and it crashes, and then you have to start back again and find where you're up to. The Android one is really good quality, but it makes sense if they perhaps would release an Xbox app, and that would be then just have the side effect of being available for Windows 10 mobile. So everybody wins. So I think hopefully that's the effect it has. That broads the one platform really does mean that developers will look at the platform, whereas perhaps they wouldn't have in the past because of a small market share.
Yeah. And I can always say from my business point of view, I'm getting questions about whether we can develop Xbox One apps already. So there's definitely going to be some push in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ticketmaster's one that they have an Android and iOS app, no Windows app. I might be wrong. I might just have missed it. So correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody does know. But maybe if they could have an app on Windows on the Xbox, it again makes sense because you listen to music and then it links to the Ticketmaster app, then it gets across all the platforms. So it's a way of getting the cross-platform stuff. But I hear what you're saying, Jason. A load of apps is not what you want on your store. You want quality apps across the board.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and as I said, that there are already processes they should be following which should prevent those apps getting on, but they don't follow them very well.
Yeah. Now, so Jason, you're on the preview, are you now? I can't remember what you said now.
I'm on the release preview for my Surface Pro 3. I think
sorry, no, I mean the new Xbox.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm still on the what? It's confusing. They don't use the same wording that the Windows Insider program does. But yeah, I'm on the what? So they've got the current Xbox experience, which I guess is the release preview
Yeah.
equivalent, and then you've got the new Xbox experience, which it's
Because I'm not quite sure what I was on, but when I check my build numbers, I'm on 14393 dot something 5 something, I think it is.
so the one that started going out on about the 30th of July was the what was it? It was the where are we? I've lost track now. Is it 14393 was
Yeah.
yeah. So it's 14393.1018.
Right. I think I had a later build than that, but then there was an update, wasn't there, this week?
Yeah, there's been 2 updates since the actual, or at least 2 that I'm aware of.
Because I've managed to get some of the Windows Store apps working. But is that right? Can you do that now on a release box Xbox?
Yes. So the update that went out, what they call the Xbox Summer Update, that included UWP. So the Groove app, which I think is still in preview, so wouldn't go out to everybody, but certainly the video app was UWP, and
So
one other. Netflix, which was a UWP as well.
Yeah, because I installed the Maps app and that worked. And
I believe that's only available to preview.
Right, so I am on a preview then. I couldn't remember, and then it just did the update, and I was thinking, well, I'll have to go and check. I was going to do it, and I don't think I ever got around to doing it, but I think I must have had it set from last time.
Yeah, so as I say, the wording's a bit difficult, I think, because I keep meaning I should probably look at switching our Xbox, because again, if they're going to start, because they've got another update coming out later in the year, which I think might be, I think they might even be calling it the anniversary update, which would be very confusing. But again, I guess the Xbox One did launch in, what was it, November time, wasn't it? So
yeah.
And I believe that they are going to change the naming of the builds, aren't they, to Windows Insiders? They're going to make it match up.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure when that's going to happen, but so I should probably try and prevent some of those early builds coming onto our Xboxes.
Yeah. Now we should say we're talking about Redstone 2 and the potential we could get a build this week, even or next week, with the first Redstone 2. And like I said, you can adjust your settings now to prepare for that. But we kind of knew that there was 2 coming. There was rumors, but actually Microsoft did confirm it in a blog post that there will be 2 feature updates to Windows 10 next year.
Yes, I think just trying to think. Sorry, Gable set down a bit of a challenge, didn't he, to Donna, basically saying that it took him 30 days to get another build out after the November update for Windows 10. So I think she's going to see if she can beat that challenge.
Yeah, I suspect we'll get one in the next maybe even this week. I did have a look at my log files, and I did see 143. Oh, I have to get the right. I should have wrote the numbers down. A much 148 some range, but apparently they're going to jump higher than that, aren't they? That's the rumors.
They do. I mean, they do normally leave a bit of a gap, don't they? Particularly since I don't know if Windows Server 2016 has been officially signed off. I know they're looking to launch it in September, but they would normally leave a few builds free just for something like that.
Yeah. So I think the next one, the rumor is 144, wasn't it? Something like that. In that range. Yeah. Well, we'll see. But yeah, we could have that. But that's so we've got 2 feature updates confirmed. So we're pretty sure that spring is Redstone 2, and then probably November next year, Redstone 3, maybe.
Or whatever they decide to call it.
Yeah. I think Redstone 2 is pretty much confirmed, isn't it? It is,
yeah.
Yeah, I see people have been referring to it as Redstone 3. I mean, I suppose, ultimately these are just internal code names, aren't they? It's going to be... Every time I think I've said this before, but every time a new version of Windows comes out, I was thinking, well, what can they do now?
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure there will be something, and particularly, as we've talked about, to go along with new devices if the Surface brand continues.
Yep. Indeed.
Yes. Okay. let's
implode.
Let's get this out of the way then, because I want to talk about new Groove features and things. But before we do that, let's get an update on the battery gate on the Surface Pro 3. Now, before you tell us that, I'll just tell you my battery report on my Surface Pro 3. He's saying my full charge capacity is 43,000. And the design capacity is 42,000. So I'm doing quite well, actually. You can borrow some of mine if you want.
Yeah, maybe I'll need to do that.
Yeah. So what's the current situation then?
What you mean, officially or unofficially?
What's the latest since we recorded last week? Then we're now another 20 pages on the thread.
Yeah, I think we're up to, is it 61 pages now?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Essentially, lots of people now, joining in, adding their voice to the pot. Still nothing apart from that update from Microsoft 2 weeks ago from Greg saying that they're aware of a small number of Surface Pro 3s being affected, and that they believe they could address it through a software update. It was just a matter of how they deliver that. It's all gone very quiet. Lots of people having some real serious issues with just getting a Surface Pro 3 to turn on, because the Surface dock isn't able to supply what I would term a positive charge when the Surface Pro 3 is under load. And I think someone's actually posted in the forum saying that the idea of the Surface dock was that it would actually stop charging the device while it's under load, and then start charging again once it's kind of settled down or is idle.
Right.
And I've, over the years, over the time I've had my Surface Pro 3, I've kind of seen that. Sometimes you hover over the battery indicator and it shows as not charging. So it's really hard. So once your battery depletes beyond usable, you can't use the dock. And what people are having to do is actually use the supplied charger to get the device on, and then literally get it on and running, and then switch it to the dock, and then it's got probably enough power. But I mean, people have been putting ice packs on the back to try and keep it cool, to stop the fan from spinning up, which can cause the device to switch off when you've got zero or very little battery life left. And as I said last week, these devices aren't cheap. $1,500, $1,700 for a top of the range Surface Pro 3, and for a lot of people, unfortunately, these devices are just completely unusable.
Not fit for purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one thing, like, okay, so the Surface Pro 2 had a charging issue, but at least you could use it plugged in. People are really struggling to use these devices, and essentially it's supposed to be a tablet computer. It's not supposed to be tethered to a desk.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And I think the fact that the thread is picking up a lot of momentum now, and because it's the place where you end up when you search for Surface Pro 3 battery problems, so that just makes it even worse. The thread seems worse because it just gets more and more traffic, and it's going to continue to do so. And there's just zero from Microsoft, like I said, for 2 weeks. And like I said, I'm skeptical that they can fix it, but there does seem to be a common path. It doesn't seem to be like a usage that after 1,500 cycles or 100 cycles, wherever it goes off, it does all seem to happen at the same time, which does point to some kind of software issue rather than just being a number of times it's been charged. But even so, I'm very skeptical. But they've got a real problem in their hands if it turns out that it isn't fixable, because how many Surface Pro 3s with Simplo batteries have been sold? Maybe millions, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly people on the forum, and it's easy to say things in kind of haste when you're frustrated and angry about a situation. But there are people saying, look, I'm a corporate buyer, and part of the reason why I had my Surface Pro 3 was to decide whether or not these devices were worthy of rolling out in the company. And they've said, there's no way I'll do that now. And I do. Again, I'm in a situation where I'm frustrated, so I probably say things that I don't necessarily mean, but I would certainly hesitate in purchasing another Surface device now. In fact, it's kind of made me stop and maybe reevaluate my decisions in terms of, for what I need a computer to be. I need it to be portable, but maybe I'd be actually better off just buying a proper laptop device that's a bit more well designed and a bit more spacious in terms of cooling, and in terms of maybe being able to have beyond 16 gig of RAM. So maybe I'd be better off with something like a HP Spectre or something like that as a true laptop,
like this Dell.
Yeah, and then just have a small tablet device, be it that maybe an iPad, or if there does come along some really good kind of mini Windows tablets, either running Windows 10 Mobile or Atom based, that I just then use for kind of casual browsing and email.
Yeah, it does make you question it. Yeah,
it does. One thing I should point out here, having had some legal advice on this. I did sort of talk to some people, experts in this field. The EU law we were talking about last week.
Hmm.
It's basically that there are some gotchas on it. So we have to. So I'm going to go through the checklist, they say. So for a not fit for purpose ruling, the goods have to have been purchased no longer than 2 years ago.
Hmm.
You have to report the fault, and this is the real gotcha, within 2 months of discovering it.
Right.
To the supplier.
Yeah, and many people won't have because they just put it on the forum, haven't they?
Yeah. So that's the real gotcha. You can't use the EU law, and it actually pays manufacturers to spin you out so that you don't report them. And there's been a lot of cases of that.
So,
and it has to go back to the manufacturer as well. So, and you can't show any sign of misuse or damage on your device.
Yeah, which I mean, that's why I don't want a refurbished model, because I take really good care of my Surface Pro 3, so I don't want replacement. One thing I did realise, I was looking through my guarantee, and actually, John Lewis, when I got my Surface Pro 3, it was a 3-year guarantee, so I'm feel a bit more reassured. But I did actually try phoning them, and they said that within the first year they would have given me either a full refund or a replacement device. But since it's now into the second and subsequently will be third year, potentially, that they will only look at repairing the device, and if the fault keeps recurring, then they would consider a full refund. But other than that, it would require Microsoft to do an official recall on them, and then they would again give a refund.
Which is the manufacturer, which is the warranty's position and the supplier, the retailer's position. But obviously, the warranty law applies to the manufacturer, so the manufacturer would actually have to give you the refund.
Yeah, and I think it kind of is frustrating. I think I can also understand. I know you've made this point, Gary, that it's probably escalated up to legal. So if they've realised this isn't a software fix, or that there is a problem with Simplo batteries, then it becomes the whole legal issue around who's going to pay for the recall. Should it be Simplo? Should they pick up the bill? Would Simplo even accept that they've done something wrong? You can just imagine if it's got to that level, then that could go on for months, and it's just what do consumers do in the meantime? It's I love my device, but if I was traveling for business now, I couldn't take it with me. It just would be pointless.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, isn't it? Yeah, that people have spent 1,500 quid on a device that is useless, a site away from a desk, and that's not acceptable on a just over a year old device. They've got to sort it out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be putting an awful lot of people off Surfaces, as you're rightly saying. I mean, it's putting me off a Surface. I was actually thinking of getting a Pro 4, and I'm sort of rethinking that idea at the moment. Although, having said that, these batteries and this management stuff is in a lot of laptops, and we'll probably see this on a lot more devices over time.
Yeah, I think, for me, when I actually sit down and analyse this, there hasn't been a Surface Pro device that hasn't had some kind of manufacturing or driver issue, and that just makes you wonder, doesn't it? I mean, they're looking to potentially launch the Surface Pro 5 next year. How long before the Surface brand just becomes tainted?
And they're pinning a lot of hopes on it as well, aren't they? Or a lot of consumers, enthusiasts are pinning a lot of hopes on a Surface phone and whatever. And to taint that brand would be a disaster when it's been actually done so well.
Yeah. I think, the one thing I will say that people in the forums are starting to post, that if you continually run the battery down and charge it up, they seem to be having some success in terms of restoring some of the battery capacity. Some people have even managed to restore it back to 100% or even 102, 103% in some cases, which is a bit odd. So I have been today, actually, as much as possible, using Malwarebytes to basically run a scan on battery to run the battery right down, and then I've been putting it back on the dock and letting it recharge. So I'm gonna continue doing that for a week, just see what happens.
That's kind of interesting, because I was using this with one of my other guys the other day on my team, and we were saying that with those sort of battery management systems built into the firmware of the battery, if the battery goes completely flat, they've only got a limit, because they're actually powered from the battery charge. So the actual memory would die after a while. So potentially, if you let it go flat and then left it 3 or 4 days, it actually start building that battery management data up from scratch again.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways, isn't there?
Yeah,
I don't know those guarantees because I obviously don't know how that battery management is managed on that particular battery, but that's certainly been the case on some batteries we've looked at in the past.
Certainly, everyone knows that you shouldn't just permanently run a laptop battery on charge. That they work best, being charged and discharged. But Panos Panay did say that this was one of the most highly tested batteries in the industry. That it was guaranteed to with 5 days use. 5 days use per week for over 4.5 years should see less than 20% reduction in its capacity. So that's clearly not the case.
Well, it is the case for Ian's one.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, when you might well have been talking about the original battery they spec'd, but then someone's made a decision, someone online, to go to a different supplier, and things go out the window. As I said, these batteries there, and this battery management's in a lot of laptops Acer use and Asus use them, I believe. I haven't got that for definite, but that's what I've been rumoured. So I think there's a chance we might see this on other laptops. And if you ever look in laptop forums, Dell's or Asus, there's tons of complaints about all these laptops. They've all got something wrong with them.
Well, I'm just looking at this XPS 15 on the battery report, and it's got an SMP, which I think is the latest name for Simplo batteries. But obviously been no problems with this one up to now, but that's what you're saying, it's a combination of factors, and in fact the remaining capacity is 104%, so this is doing quite well, this battery. But we'll keep reporting anyway. Hopefully we'll have a fix, but I suspect it's going to drag on and on.
Yeah. It would just be nice for them to post just once a week or something in the forum, say, look, we're still here, we're there for you, we're going to fix it. Please just bear with us.
How long did it take them to come out with something about it was the Surface Book, wasn't it? Or was it the Surface Pro 4 problems when they did do a post eventually? It
was the Pro 4 and Surface Book, and I think even then though, I think it was only a response in a forum.
They did seem to post after it had been fixed as well, wasn't it? About a small number of people or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep up to date on this, and I know that Jason, you've done a really good job, and just keep plodding along with this and highlighting this because and drawing attention to it. So I think Surface owners should be thankful for your efforts.
Yes, and just by the way, this is my last week on your podcast. I know on Windows Weekly. We had mentioned.
That's it. Yeah, you've been poached now.
Yeah,
you're not going to speak to me and Gary anymore. You're too high up for them.
Yeah, actually, talking to podcasts, I should also, if they happen to listen, send my best to Chris and Taylor, who unfortunately did their very last end user podcast this week.
As I said on Twitter, I'm going to miss that. I really enjoyed that show.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Cast only downloaded the first 20 minutes. So I was planned on listening to it today, and I just couldn't get it to re-download it. So unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to listen to the whole thing. But yeah, I used to love listening to that show. So it's sad, but I do understand how life gets in the way, and you have to reevaluate how you're spending your free time.
Yeah, indeed.
And spend your free time. You can now spend your free time editing your metadata in Groove.
Yes.
So how's that for a link?
But only if they're not FLAC files.
Yes, or cloud files.
Yeah.
Do people still do that?
Yes, a lot.
Yeah, people do like the metadata, and I can understand why, especially if you've got some older content, which I've noticed a few of my older stuff has got errors in. I think, how's that crept in there? But yeah, previously you had to use another tool to do it, but now you can use Groove if the files are locally stored. So if they're stored in OneDrive, then you can't do it. But if they're on that machine in OneDrive as a folder, then you can. So you can edit the title and all the metadata. I don't know, you can update the album artwork. I didn't see an option to do that.
Yeah, that's the one thing I actually really want to do in a lot of cases. But
that was the only thing that I really wanted to change, because I've got some sort of images in lower res than they need to be. But so at least it's there. But it's impressive work by the Groove team. I think that app has come a long way in 12 months.
Yeah, they can't win
Yes.
though because they just. As I said, I laughingly said about the FLAC thing, and I noticed we got a post on the
Yeah.
your post about that, and there's been lots of posts on the forums about that because the Music Infuse S, the sort of people who want to edit their metadata are more than likely to use FLAC to record their stuff. So, but I think the Groove team are doing a phenomenal job. I mean, you only need to look at how well received the new Xbox app has been.
Yeah, I think they've done,
positive.
yeah, and I hope if they keep the and make sure that they keep the Android and iOS versions in step, then I think they've got a good chance of doing well with the platform. I've switched back now since they've done the changes.
They still need a family plan though, but as we often say, but that's about the only thing which holds some people I know back from going back onto Groove.
Yeah. Oh, I also should say as well, I got my band back today.
Ah,
not my Rock Band, but yeah, my Microsoft band too.
I think you're building a family band, aren't you? You haven't heard your son play his guitar.
Yeah, he's getting quite good, isn't he? Yeah.
He's getting very good.
Yeah, I'm just hoping to. I've already told him, whatever money he makes in the future, I'll just take 10% or whatever it is. And because I did pay for the lessons when he was younger. I remind him about that when he's a multi-millionaire. But yeah, my Microsoft Band 2, which the heart rate monitor stopped working, so I returned it just using the support thing, and they sent it back. In fact, I say sent it back, it's a brand new one, which is quite good actually, because my other one, the gloss had worn off the strap and it was getting a bit weak. And this is a brand newie, so that they sent through. So it's quite nice actually. And it only took 5 days for the whole thing. So that's a great example of where Microsoft support works well and keep a happy customer.
Yeah.
And if they can do that for the Surface, everyone will all be happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got it back with a new charger cable. The whole thing had been done. I had to pair it all back up again, of course. But yeah, it's nice and simple. So that's my 4th band now. Then.
Actually, one thing I keep meaning to ask you two, I don't know if you use it in anger, but has anyone got the new Outlook.com?
No, I haven't. I do use it, and I haven't got it.
No, me neither.
Some of my family use it.
Got it, yeah. It's just it was supposed to be finished rolling out by the end of summer, so.
Yeah, not end of summer yet, though, is it?
No. Well, it depends if you looked out the window recently.
Yeah, that's really true. I'm on holiday in a couple of weeks, so it'll be after that. Final thing, better to wrap up. Did you see that the inking has come to the Maps app?
Yes, I think that's really good use of it, actually.
Yeah, I remember looking for this because they showed it off at Build, but it actually only just arrived last week if you're on the Fast Ring. And there's a couple of different modes for it, and if you've got a Surface or any device that supports a pen, it's actually really nice. You can do you can draw a line between A and B, and it will tell you how far the distance is. So you could, if you were going on, say, a walk, you could draw your route, and it'll tell you how far it is. Or you can say, draw from here to there, and can you get me the navigation route, car or walking or whatever. And it does that. So it's a nice little handy tool. It's a nice little thing, and you can annotate maps as well. So yeah, I was playing around with it. It was quite nice, actually. You can, I've got a nice little walk, and I drew it to see the route, and it came back 1.8 miles, which is exactly the distance the band says it is. So yeah, quite nice little feature, that.
Good.
Right, well, I think we better wrap up then. So I've got some other stuff. There's an MB server been updated, but I'll leave link for that in the show notes. And I've done a couple of reviews. I've got the Acer video coming out soon, and I've posted the Links 10 video as well. So that's me. What's happening with you, Gary?
Well, Fascinating Tech will be out sometime this week with Jason's wonderful article in it.
Hey.
So I've been editing that over the weekend, getting that all ready. You've got the cover done, all those sort of things you have to do when you do it. I'm just waiting for a couple of reviewers to supply their stuff. Not as prompt as Jason has been on their deadlines, you see.
So, I was late, but other people are later.
Yes, indeed. but for good reason. So we were actually waiting for some feedback from some manufacturers. So I always like to be fair to them to give them a chance to reply when we've been fairly critical. But yeah, so some really good stuff in there. An amazing prize pack, which is I think it's about 400 quid's worth of equipment to be won. Which if you're interested in your health and your fitness, your family, it's definitely worth entering out, and there's quite a high chance of winning. So that will be sometime this week.
Excellent stuff. And Jason, where can we find you?
You can find me on Fascinating Nick
Yeah.
and at Database Jace on Twitter.
Excellent stuff. And you can find you you can find you tweeting out the links to the Surface Pro, the battery issue, maybe.
Yeah, trying to get.
I've been mentioned on Fine Podcast all worldwide.
Yeah, that's it. International star Jason. Thank you very much for joining us.
At least you two can say my name right.
Yeah,
Yes, that's true.
yeah, but we've had practice.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Josh Pollard.
Well, you can't even say my name right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. These Americans, what do they know?
Ask him to pronounce where you're from as well and which football team you support, because that's a usual difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah,
well,
Leicestershire.
Actually, well, to be honest, they all know how to pronounce Leicester now because they're winning. So that's been their sport so much. That's the one thing they do know how to pronounce. They can't do Peterborough. That's how they pronounce Peterborough.
Yeah, that's asking too much.
Yeah, that definitely is. Right, we should be back next week. We are here next week. The week after will be a holiday, but we're here next week. So you can join us in the chat room or Twitter at ISDixon, and you can send us email, lifestyle.com. You'll find us on YouTube and everywhere else. So until next week, we'll see you then.
Cheerio, bye-bye.
Excellent, great stuff. Oh, I forgot to mention